Hello everyone, this is part 40 of What If Naruto Passed the Genin test, and I hope you guys enjoy this video and to like, to subscribe, to share, and check out the playlist, to see more comment down below. Now let's start the intro.
They call me a god. They call me a god. They call me a god.
Join my membership, the perks are great. It's in the description. Be sure to like and subscribe, it gives me more motivation. Enjoy. Move your feet, barked Jiraiya, twirling around and slapping Naruto on the back of the head with the flat of his hand. Naruto stumbled forward and landed face first in the clay-reddened, sandy dirt of the northern wind country. His amber sword fell from his hand and stuck point down in the earth as the aura of red chakra dissipated. Or someone less nice than me will do something a lot worse than that to you. Naruto rolled onto his back, his eyes shut tightly and his head throbbing. The black Anbu suit Kakashi had given him several weeks before as a parting gift from Konoha was now stained brown from the dirt and baked on blood. You cheated, he growled. And you were sloppy, said Jiraiya, sitting down on a large rock and surveying their surroundings. Naruto, you're a damn good soldier. You've proven over and over how sly you are when a dozen or more enemies have you cornered. But you need to work on being a better ninja. Most of the battles you're going to face, the ones that really count, are going to be one-on-one. It's not a matter of if, but when. When you fight Orochimaru and when you fight Sasuke, and when you ultimately face down enemies worse than either of those, you're not going to be able to use the Kyuubi's chakra like you did in Konoha. You have to hone your skills as a ninja, a night fighter, an assassin. Naruto opened his eyes and stared at the sky. He watched as a single cloud, wispy and pure white, floated by overhead. His brow furrowed as he mulled Jiraiya's words over. He closed his eyes again and sighed. I'll try, he said quietly. You'll have to do more than try, said the Sannin in red, standing up and looking off towards the high walls of Suna in the distance. The flat plains bordering the desert around the sand village made Suna's defensive edifice easy to spot, even when it was many miles away. I worry that this assassin we're after might be more dangerous than our good friend Gaara knows or lets on. We'll get him, said Naruto, sitting up and glaring off. He didn't smile but glanced over to Jiraiya. We do have the legendary Toad Sannin on our side. Jiraiya didn't look back at his student. He hasn't called me a pervert once on this whole TS, thought the old man. True, but we also have Uzumaki Naruto, and that alone enoughs to keep trouble away. We'll see, said the blonde, getting to his feet and plucking his weapon out of the dirt. In a burst of red chakra, Naruto disappeared. Jiraiya's eyes widened, but he spun around, catching the golden brand between his fingers as Naruto swung at him from behind. The Sannin lashed out and rammed his palm into Naruto's chest, but the shadow clone disappeared in a puff of smoke. Clever, thought Jiraiya, spinning around and flinging out a volley of kunai. The little knives thudded into three more clones that had leapt from hiding places beneath the dirt, glowing red with demonic energy. The clones disappeared in puffs of smoke. You can't wear me down like this, Naruto, shouted the Sannin. Not with little clones. Nothing happened. Jiraiya scanned the field looking for Naruto, but the Genin had hidden himself too well. Alright, I'll have to draw you out then. I shouldn't have taught him those layered genjutsu so soon. He's using them too well, Jiraiya thought, grinning to himself. The Sannin took a few steps forward and performed a few hand seals, then calmly pressed his hand to the ground. A flow of energy, like a slow-moving shockwave, rolled along the ground, transforming the terrain it covered immediately into a black, gelatinous muck. The wave stopped about 50 feet out from Jiraiya, leaving him standing on an island in the black swamp. This might be a little much for a training exercise, he thought, but Naruto is getting good enough to handle it if I don't. Careful, shouted the Sannin, spinning on his heel as Naruto leapt up out of the swamp with a loud pop. No one should be able to do that, Jiraiya noted as he watched Naruto sail towards him, the underworld swamp shaking from how Naruto burst from it. I'll have to make it stickier. Jiraiya snapped his fingers and the swamp beneath Naruto exploded up in a small pillar of slime, impacting Naruto and wrapping around him. The blonde yelped in surprise as the thick tendril of muck cracked like a whip and slapped him down at Jiraiya's feet on the island. Damn, Naruto shouted. He'd come down and open his leg on the blade of his sword. Crimson blood was streaming out of the long, deep wound and staining the grass. Naruto, gasped Jiraiya, kneeling down beside his student. Are you Al? It had only been a flicker of the blonde's hands, but Jiraiya had caught the seals and leapt back, just as the blood on the ground swirled into a black spike and lunged up at the Sannin. Like a harpoon, the spear rocketed up and stopped just short of impaling Jiraiya through the chest, even though there was plenty of blood left on the ground to draw on. Naruto had severed the energy powering the technique, and Jiraiya landed safely on a patch of earth at the very edge of the swamp. Naruto clutched at the slash in his leg, which was already beginning to close up and seal, courtesy of the Kyuubi no doubt. He flourished the amber sword, spinning it around in his hand once and sheathing it in a fluid motion. He was looking towards Jiraiya and the faintest hint of a smile shone on his lips. His blue eyes were sparkling like ice. Impressive, the Sannin mused. Naruto, he shouted, we only learned the blood blade 2 days ago. Did you cut your leg open on purpose to catch me off guard? Naruto let his left hand, the one stained from the wound on his thigh, drop to his side and stood up straight. The lesion was gone. Am I a ninja yet? He asked. SC. Hello lover boy, Ino chortled, glaring at Naruto across the 10 feet of empty space that separated the branches on which they stood. So you missed me, I hope. Naruto's grin was ear to ear as he watched her, waiting for any tell that she might be on the attack. I've been beside myself without you, he said, his voice calmer now but still fraught with anxiety and anticipation. Or more accurately, I've missed Ino. I'm just sorry your soul isn't still rotting in hell. I went to a lot of trouble to send you back. The Hyuga demon tossed Ino's head, and her hair flipped out like a cascade of white-hot gold. She reached behind her back to the sheath slung over her shoulder and held said sheath out in front of her by the handle of the hidden weapon, displaying it to Naruto. It looked too thick and bulky to be the scabbard of a sword, and it was also shorter than anything but a wakizashi, blocky even. Naruto couldn't help but stare at it for a moment, not knowing what to expect from the surprise. A pretty thing, isn't it? She asked haughtily, not drawing anything from the scabbard. This is half the reason I was sent here after you. Lord Orochimaru wants to test it out and see just how much of an edge this work of art will give me. But then again, I can't expect someone like Uzumaki Naruto to understand fully. You never did have much of an appreciation for beauty. I have an appreciation for that girl you're manipulating, said Naruto, now refusing to let emotion into his words. And to that end, I'm going to warn you now that if you don't surrender, I'll have to remove you from her by force. The demon pitched its head back again and laughed. Several deep rumblings escaped its tea as Ino reached out with her free hand, grabbed the sheath, and began to pull it up and away from the weapon beneath. Naruto watched as she unveiled a strange and exotic-looking contraption made from a jet-black material, shining like obsidian and as long as Ino's forearm. The girl grinned wickedly as she looked at the device, tossed the sheath aside and let it tumble down into the shadow of the forest beneath. Without saying a word, Ino held the device out at arm's length for Naruto to get a better look. His eyes wandered over it briefly, and he decided that more than anything, it looked like a steel spider. 5 spindly metal spikes jutted out from a central hub, and clawed downwards at even intervals, like the talons of a raptor. Naruto's sword, though it was not in direct sunlight, began to glisten and glow, as if in response to the new weapon. The amber brand looked as though it was burning with its own energy, and Naruto glanced at it, warily. Now that is interesting, the demon said with Ino's voice, reaching out and sliding the device over her left hand like a glove or gauntlet. Orochimaru was right. What is that? Asked Naruto. As he watched, the obsidian glove sparked once with orange light, and began to give off an aura like smoke of crimson glow. Another relic of an age long gone, said the demon. Orochimaru calls it the Reaper, an ancient weapon dug up from ruins deep beneath Oto. You see, the village of Sound was actually, and quite accidentally, built over a ruined outpost that had once belonged to the long-s village of Maibu. Naruto's brow furrowed and his teeth clenched, though he was careful not to let Ino see too much of his new anxiety. So, Orochimaru found a trinket left by the old masters, did he? How much does he know, I wonder? The caged Genin felt Kyuubi's presence, already in the forefront of his consciousness, growl angrily. This complicates matters even more, Kit. This is no longer an ambush, but I fear that weapon may be as dangerous as the demon wielding it. Remember Sasuke's sword? I couldn't easily heal the wounds it left on you. So what does it do? Asked Naruto. Ino grinned. It destroys your soul, she laughed, taking a step towards him and planting her feet on the very edge of the bough of the tree. Or more accurately, it makes it easier for me to devour your soul. Without looking away from Ino's eyes, Naruto pictured the Reaper in his mind as he watched her hand from the very edge of his vision. The weapon fit tightly around her fingers, augmenting her manicured nails with sly spines, nearly 6 inches of the black metal. The hub that the claws attached to fit snug over the back of her hand. Naruto seed his head questioningly. Got to draw her in, he thought. How? Ino disappeared in a blur of wind, reappearing behind Naruto in a flash and swinging the shining claws at his teeth. Naruto raised his sword in defense instinctively. The two weapons collided with a shrieking metallic ring and a shower of blue sparks. Naruto lunged forward and shoved Ino off balance. She leapt back and landed on a branch a few yards away. Naruto's brow twitched as he called on the demonic chakra, and the branch beneath Ino's feet burst into flame as an invisible firebomb of energy detonated inside the wood. As Ino jumped up into the tree, Naruto leapt through the branches beneath her, chasing after the girl. The fiery limb beneath broke off from the main trunk and toppled down into the forest below. Do you plan on killing her now? Asked Kyuubi gruffly as Naruto pursued Ino through the trees, following her every movement like a tracking hound, but leaving a long berth between them. Absolutely not, thought Naruto as Kyuubi directed him, both with subliminal leads and sent after her. She's too valuable and she'll be too useful against Orochimaru. And what Kit? And I'm not going to give her up again, Naruto stated flatly. Never again. Please, said Kyuubi sarcastically. Don't be so dramatic. Your best option is to kill her and you know it. Don't push it, said Naruto, we can talk when this is over and she's back safe with me. Whatever, your resolve is slipping and your feelings for her are making you weak. But it's your decision. Just don't get us ked. Kyuubi scanned the air and warned Naruto the demon was not as far ahead as before. I think she may be slowing to draw you into a trap. He said. Maybe, thought Naruto, stopping cold in his tracks. Kyuubi, I'm going to give you massive amounts of control over your chakra here. I want you to do what you can to manage our defense. Good. I was going to suggest you turn some of the control over to me. We should be all right now. Just be careful, your emotions are starting to play with your judgment. Just don't kill her, Naruto warned. This is a straight-up fight now, so we'll have the advantage, you and I. Ino is a close to mid-range fighter and the demon is likely to use those kinds of tactics, so we know what to defend against. The ambush was a bad idea, you were right, but it doesn't matter now. Just keep us from taking any hits, especially from that thing she has. Naruto felt Kyuubi's acknowledgement, and jumped up into a hollow in the canopy, a sort of cave in the leaves formed by the arching branches. The slatted floor was composed of thick branches wrapped in wreaths of leaves. One wrong step though, and it would be easy to fall between the branches and down into the forest beneath. Ino was nowhere to be seen, but with Kyuubi enhancing Naruto's senses, the blonde could feel that the Hyuga demon was nearby. She's hiding in the trees, said Kyuubi. But I can't tell exactly where. She's bleeding chakra all over to mask her location. I can sense that, Naruto thought, scanning the deep shadows of the hollow with intense eyes. You seem much more at ease now. Like you said, this is a straight-up fight now. I'm worried about those claws of hers, but now that we're no longer letting her hunt us, I said earlier that you can best her I think unless you show mercy, which is why this sudden shaking in your resolve is bothersome. I can't lose her again, Naruto thought. I've been planning this for a long time now and I thought I could stay impartial. Now that the moment's here though, I'm not sure. I already said what you do with her is your decision. Just don't let it kill us. Naruto nodded and stood up, pressing his hands together in a familiar seal. A dozen shadow clones puffed into existence, swords drawn and ready to move out. The caged Genin waved his arm in command and the clones leapt off into the trees, knowing full well their only purpose was to flush out the prey. Naruto waited as nothing happened, half hoping Ino would attack him directly. He grinned as Kyuubi's red chakra began to bubble around him. She's getting closer, ignoring the clones entirely. He should be coming around this bend any second now, Naruto thought to himself as he crouched in the darkness of the alley. Midnight in the Wind Country was darker than it was in Konoha as there were far fewer street lights and most of the houses had since put out their lamps. Any second now, there. Naruto leapt out of the alley, an invisible golden blur at his side. He struck out with inhuman speed, slicing his sword through bone and F. He hit the target in the middle of its stride, and a second later the ninja collapsed to the ground and rolled. His right leg flopped down in the dirt next to him a second later. A scream shattered the nightly calm as the nin clutched at his leg, or more accurately, the stump that was left of his leg. Naruto walked calmly to within a few paces of the ninja and flicked his sword, spraying the residual blood from the dismembering across the ground and the disabled ninja's cloak. Talk, said the blonde. There was no pity in his voice. I don't have more than a minute or two. The nin in the dark robe was silent, holding back his whimpering but staring at the quickly growing pool of blood mingling with the sand around his truncated thigh. He looked back up to Naruto, his mundane features twisted into some combination of a grin, a snarl, and a barking curse. Takata will require of that one a new leg, said the wounded ninja, though his voice suddenly changed and hinted at no pain. That one did take one of this Takata's. Naruto didn't flinch. I said talk, he growled, before I put a shuriken into your good kneecap. Who are you working for and what's your mission? Takata doesn't want to talk to that one, said the ninja, pulling himself up and leaning on one of his elbows. Takata thinks that one can go F itself. Naruto's hand quickly reached into one of the deep pockets on his pant leg and pulled out a trio of thin, black shuriken. His hand flashed downwards and one of the projectiles screamed through the air, connecting with and slicing straight through the wounded ninja's left knee. The bluest steel thudded into the dirt beyond as blood sprayed and sped from the wound. Takata didn't flinch though his leg drooped uselessly. Now Takata will require of that one 2 legs. Naruto's hand whipped through the air again and another shuriken flew. Takata collapsed fully as the second missile tore out his elbow and knocked away his support. He landed hard on his shoulder. What's your mission? Asked Naruto, his voice colorless. That one doesn't understand, said the CS pled nin. Takata's purpose is to cause pain and pain does not bother Takata. But if that one will let Takata go, Takata will explain to that one why the dragon made Enishi into Takata. Naruto reared back like he was going to throw his last shuriken. Go on. The dragon, the one that one calls Orochimaru, took Enishi and gave him the seal, the one that the other had, the red eye, the one that gives the dragon control of Takata's mind, but Takata fought it, fought the dragon and fought the dragon's seal. But Takata knows the dragon will come back, so Takata ran away and now Takata KS people to make them see that it's Takata's purpose. Takata KS, it's what Takata does. You're insane, said Naruto. Not insane, said the ninja. Takata was property of the dragon, the one called Orochimaru, the bastard thing dragon thing. And Takata had the seal, the funny one long before the other had the seal. The dragon was experimenting on Takata the same way it was experimenting on the other one, not the red eye, but the blonde head. The blonde head man fought the seal too, but he was stronger than Takata and didn't quite go as crazy. But Takata is not crazy like the blonde man was. The blonde man went to K someone, escaped he did and went to K someone. He told Takata so. Stop babbling, said Naruto. If you've got a point to make then make it and I might not K you painfully. The ninja laying on the ground choked once and rolled onto his side. With a rasping heave he spat up a mouthful of phlegm and blood, then turned back to Naruto. Takata must K or else he will lose himself and the dragon will get control back. It's the only way. Once Takata had the seal, Takata had to find something that blocks it, like the red eye and the blonde head. The red eye blocks the seal with a little pebble and it keeps him totally crazy, not like Takata or the blonde head. But the blonde head used something Takata doesn't know. He had to think about it constantly and it made him not so crazy anymore. Takata thinks of blood and it keeps the dragon out of Takata's brain. Naruto grimaced as the ninja smiled weakly and fanatically. Do you mean Yamanaka Inoki and Uchiha Sasuke? Naruto asked. Are they the blonde head and the red eye? Takata nodded his head wildly. Yup, the blonde head and the red eye, the nin said. I need you to tell me right now, said Naruto, and if you can do this, then I'll let you go. I need you to tell me exactly how the dragon, how Orochimaru controls people's minds. Can you tell me that? Takata will, said the ninja. But Takata must not be the one to tell that one how it works since Takata doesn't know. Takata doesn't know. Only Enishi knows. Takata will get Enishi for you but Enishi won't be happy since Enishi feels what that one does to Takata. Get on with it, barked the Uzumaki, though the ferocity from his voice was gone. Poor little bastard, Naruto mentally groaned. Orochimaru totally shattered his mind, he was nothing but a guinea pig here. Takata grinned wickedly, then fell back to the ground, his eyes rolling back in his skull. The ninja twitched once and convulsed, spitting up a mouthful of red foam, then crumpling backwards and going still. Great, muttered Naruto, his voice trembling. Now I'll never know, Orochimaru's hit an all-time low with this one. This has got to stop. Naruto's eyes widened for just a second. He shook his head once and clenched his fists. Get a GS, he kicked himself. This Takata is nothing. He's an insect. Orochimaru is the real prize and all that matters is taking him down. I can't feel anything until he's S. Gah! Screamed the wounded ninja, bursting up and clutching at his irreparably damaged elbow. What the hell did you do to me? Who are you and where am I? The blonde Konoha nin sighed as the man began to rant. Objective Naruto, he thought. He's just an insect. He's just a good source of information on Orochimaru. And with that, Naruto shuffled any pity out of his mind. Naruto's black boot connected solidly with the nin's jaw as the blonde kicked him in the face, knocking him to the ground. Tell me who you work for, said Naruto calmly. And tell me what you're doing here. I'm Yahumaro Enishi, screamed the ninja, pain clawing at his voice as furious tears welled in his eyes. I'm the son of the Lord of the Land of the Horse. Once my father hears of this, you and Orochimaru will you'll all. Naruto stomped down on Enishi's good hand. The sound of cracking knuckles and popping bones filled the night. The blonde ground Enishi's hand with his boot as the wounded ninja cursed and swore in pain. So you have something against Orochimaru? Asked Naruto, taking his boot off Enishi's fingers and putting his own hands in his pockets. Tell me what you know or I'm going to shove a senbon straight up your S. You're not getting S out of me, you sick bastard, growled Enishi. You're as bad as he is. You might as well be Orochimaru. Naruto reached behind his back and pulled a small leather pouch, about the size and shape of a pencil case from his Anbu outfit. He flipped it open, revealing a collection of identical, long, and sly-pointed senbon needles. I said talk, said Naruto, taking out just one of the needles. My patience has about as much time left as you do. There was a small puff of ninja smoke behind Naruto, and the blonde sighed mentally. A red shape leapt from the cloud and landed beside Naruto and Enishi. It was Jiraiya, a drawn kunai in his left hand. That's quite enough of this, Naruto, said the Sannin. About time you called him off, you fing pig, barked Enishi. This whole good cop bad cop act isn't going to get me to talk though. Jiraiya glanced once between a very quiet Naruto and the ninja on the ground before he put away the kunai and crossed his arms. Well, you've ked him, said the Sannin. Poor fool hasn't got more than a few minutes left with all the blood you've drawn. Naruto didn't look at Jiraiya, though his glare leveled on Enishi. The blonde could sense the 7 other ninja who appeared on the scene with Jiraiya. They were all eagerly watching the 2 Konoha nin and their prisoner from the shadowed rooftops and alleys that dotted the village road. What have you found out? Asked Jiraiya. Naruto's fist clenched for just a second before his hand went limp at his side, a motion Jiraiya noticed. His mind was broken by Orochimaru, said Naruto. Our little shirring friend was using him as an experiment. 4. Jiraiya probed. Enishi's breathing grew labored and he fell back on the ground, shuddering. His pupils dilated and contracted wildly for a minute and red foam gurgled in the back of his tea. The ninja's one good hand reached up towards the sky, then fell motionless on his chest. He's going into shock, said Jiraiya, not moving to help. He's lost too much blood. I can tell, said Naruto, kneeling down calmly by Enishi. But look at this. Jiraiya watched as Naruto pulled Enishi's loose collar away from his tightly spasming frame, revealing 3 little black dots, coiled snakes, tattooed on his shoulder. The same seal that Orochimaru put on Sasuke, the mind-altering one. It's too bad we couldn't get any more out of him. Naruto stood up and twirled his sword once in his hand. I think we're done here, said Jiraiya. No. The wounded ninja shrieked, lurching up and clutching the side of his head with his good hand as Naruto and Jiraiya jumped back and readied for trouble. You can't have Takata back. Takata won't let you have him back. Takata won't tell you anything, you bastard. Screaming and shouting, Takata grabbed a fistful of his swarthy brown hair and spared it from his scalp with a sickening tear. He threw the hair aside and grabbed another fistful from the top of his head. Again, he wrenched the hair out by the roots and threw it aside. His fingers grew bloody, but he kept tearing the hair from his head and spinning up patches of his scalp as Naruto and Jiraiya watched in shock. "You will not have Takata back," wailed the ninja. He had run out of hair to out, and began to rake his fingernails, long and sharply untrimmed, down the side of his face, carving deep trenches in his cheeks and jaw. Takata must K again. Only king, only blood keeps the dragon out. Takata must K. He screamed, his eyes bursting open wide and locking onto Naruto. "Enough!" Naruto shouted, lunging forward and hacking at Takata with the golden brand. The blade passed through Takata's end effortlessly, and Naruto carried through on the blow with a graceful twist of the blade, twirling it to remove any blood residue. Takata was silent as he fell backwards. His head rolled off his end as the body hit the ground, and rolled a few feet until it ran out of momentum and stopped in the middle of the street. What little blood was left in the body now drained slowly from the end and leg, unpumped by a still heart. Naruto drew a deep breath and looked away from the body. He sheathed his sword, growled to himself. "That was the last time I ever K anyone out of mercy," he thought, turning to Jiraiya. He was going to hurt someone. Jiraiya nodded. Probably, but Naruto. The blonde looked away from his sensei, staring off into space and completely ignoring the hiding sand nin who watched him in utter fascination. Jiraiya diverted his gaze from both Naruto and the corpse a few yards to his left. He didn't really want to look at either of them right now. "I think we're done here." The Sannin, for the first time since he'd met Naruto, began to question whether or not the young ninja had it in him to recover. The battle was going exactly as Naruto expected. He and the Hyuga demon were chasing one another about the forest, darting through the treetops and dodging each other as flames and raw bolts of chakra blasted among the trees and set wildfires ablaze all along the length of the island. They came close enough to actually strike at one another very rarely, and when they did, Naruto made every effort to keep the encounters brief, parrying a blow or two, then turning and running as fast as he could or disappearing in a flash of smoke into the underbrush. A cycle emerged. It would begin with Naruto slowing enough for the demon to flank him, then stopping in the treetops and whirling on Ino, whichever direction she was coming from, with a powerful jutsu. Ino would dodge or plow through the attack, while simultaneously launching one of her own. While Naruto leapt to the side or unleashed a wave of shadow clones, Ino would sweep in close, slicing through the clones if necessary, readying the strange metal glove to attack and take aim at Naruto, as the caged Genin prepared to retreat and vanished again. "What are you doing?" Kyuubi growled as Naruto sprinted through the trees, running top speed away from Ino. "You could have taken her down twice over by now if you stood and fought. If I didn't know better, I'd say you were afraid of her." "Thank you, Kyuubi," Naruto responded, sounding genuine. "I'll bite." "For what?" asked the demon lord. "You just confirmed that this plan is going to work perfectly." "I don't understand." Naruto stopped in the trees and waited. He knew he had a minute or so before Ino arrived. He'd skipped ahead of her to buy a little time. "Because, you just proved to me that demons have no strategy on the battlefield beyond blowing things up and throwing chakra around. 3 years ago Hinata did nothing but fight as hard as she could using her demonic chakra to the fullest and combining it with her knowledge of Gyuuken. I'm surprised though that you can't see that I'm drawing her in." Kyuubi didn't answer. "Right now she's letting me get ahead of her. She's playing with me and getting comfortable with the idea of keeping me on the run. I need to establish some kind of rhythm in the fight," Naruto explained. "If she thinks she's got the fight in the bag, then I can count on her demon mentality to take over. She'll be like a lion chasing a fleeing antelope and make a mistake in her bullheaded attack. I'll let her catch me, and as soon as she does, she'll start to toy with me and gloat. When she does, I'll start to mess with her mind and it will all be over." "Glad to see you're at least thinking rationally again. How long are we going to keep this up?" Naruto smiled to himself, sensing Ino's presence nearing. "I'm not going to lose her again," he said resolutely. "To that end, I've got to think as clearly as possible and lure her into the trap. I think I've let her have her way in the chase long enough, now it's time to start messing with her head. You still haven't told me what my part in your scheme is going to be." "Suffice it to say," said Naruto, getting to his feet to face Ino as she appeared, standing on a branch 20 yards away in the foliage. "You will be the jaws of the trap. Just be ready." This will all be over very, very soon now. Naruto spun around and crouched down, raising the amber sword as Ino appeared in front of him in a lightning-quick attack. The claws shrieked against the sword, unleashing a hail of blue sparks down into the forest, searing hot and catching the leaves on fire as they fell. Naruto roared and swept downwards with the blade, throwing Ino's arm down against the tree and dropping her to her knees. The caged Genin used the momentum of the monstrous swing, following through and raising the blade high above his head. Attack, damn it. He watched, not finishing the blow as the kunoichi rolled onto her side and kicked up, fiercely driving her heel into his stomach. Naruto fell backwards, thrown off his feet, but flipped in midair and dropped down to a lower branch. Ino was there instantly, right in his face. Blue chakra crackled in her free hand. Naruto jumped backwards, slashing at her as he did. The metal claws parried the blow effortlessly and the kunoichi carried the sweeping motion through and jetted her glowing fingers toward him. White-hot lightning raced from her fingertips and slammed into Naruto's chest. He made no effort to dodge it. The caged Genin yelped in pain and fell backwards off the branch, tumbling through the air towards the ground. He didn't dodge, but simply raised his arms in defense as Ino leapt from her spot in the trees, propelling herself towards him like a spear. Her metal-clad fingers wrapped around Naruto's forearm like a vice, the bladed talons cutting his arm down to the bone and peeling his sword hand as she wrenched him back and slammed her forehead into his jaw. Naruto's head snapped back from the impact and he reflexively kicked up and drove his knee into Ino's stomach. The kunoichi stammered back as the pair plummeted down towards the ground, but only tightened her grip on his arm, cutting deeper and leaving little rivulets in the bone. He tried to lean back and break away, the burning from the wound making his head scream with a migraine, but slammed his free fist into Ino's shoulder when she made it clear she wasn't going to let go. Kit, Kyuubi roared. What are you doing? Finish her. She's in close. Use a blast of my chakra. Anything. She's not fighting anywhere near her capacity, so end this before she stops fooling around. Naruto didn't answer. He didn't even move to stop Ino as she spun him around in midair, a mere dozen feet above the ground. They were both falling faster now and Naruto felt the demonic chakra welling up against his will. Kyuubi was going to try and end the fight with a quick and decisive attack. No, Naruto thought calmly, severing the red chakra before the demon fox could unleash it. That's not what we're here to do. Kit, are you insane? Ino spun Naruto around as they fell, and launched him like a bullet, letting go of Naruto's arm and watching delightedly as he flew into the dirt with a loud thud and a crack. A cloud of dirt shot up and obscured the ninja for a moment as Ino landed a few meters from the edge of the cloud. Naruto didn't stir from his place on the ground. Come now, shouted Ino, waiting for the dust to settle. You're not making this any fun at all. Are you afraid? Do you want to run away? Her tone joked and jeered, even as Naruto waited from within the cloud, staring with narrowed eyes at the sharpening silhouette of the girl. Kit, you can end this now. Leave a shadow clone in your place and find a place to attack from. Use one of those genjutsu the old man taught you. Do something besides lay there and Let me do this my way, replied Naruto, not moving to get up. Just heal my arm. I can't, growled Kyuubi. I warned you these old weapons make it nearly impossible for me to heal you effectively. Now get up and fight, you little brat. We're going to win this, Naruto cajoled. Not if you don't fight. Only if I don't fight, yet. Naruto blocked out Kyuubi's furious ravings. The demon lord was getting worked up exactly as Naruto wanted. The blonde Genin decided he had laid down long enough and began to stumble to his feet as the dust settled, making a very exaggerated effort to stay standing once he'd gotten up. He looked through the loose cloud of floating dirt at Ino as she laughed at and mocked him, letting his back slump and his eyes droop. This is absolutely pathetic, laughed the Hyuga demon. Here I've been toying with you this whole time and this is all you can muster. You were more zealous than this 3 years ago. Where's the fire? Where's the thirst for blood and vengeance? Naruto didn't answer, just stared at her. Blood was de-sping from his badly wounded arm, but his grip on the sword was no less tight. The amber metal seemed to share Kyuubi's ire and flashed with an inner light. Naruto wondered if the sword wanted him to fight too. What's the point? Naruto sighed, his voice exasperated and wounded. He could feel Kyuubi's chakra fighting desperately trying to blast Ino, but he held it back. Ino opened her mouth to say something, but a quick look of uncertainty darted across her face and the maniacal grin on her lips faded. She took one step back and ready to attack him. Naruto didn't move. Ino rushed forward, blindingly fast, even Naruto's eyes could barely keep up with her, but he didn't move to stop, intercept, or even dodge her. Naruto only stood there as Ino reared back in mid-stride and slammed her fist into his jaw with world-shaking crash. The caged Genin flew back through the air, almost as fast as Ino had rushed him, and impacted a tree with a boom, splitting the wood like balsa. Naruto hesitated, not moving from the small crater he'd set in the hardwood as Ino, again, stared at him quizzically. Slowly, her eyes widened. Her lips parted only the slightest bit as she watched him stumble out of the tree and stand on uncertain feet opposite her. As she looked into his tired and beleaguered eyes, she beamed wickedly. "So that's it then," she shouted, seemingly elated. "You're trying to catch me off guard, letting me beat the S out of you so I'll get comfortable with my position and then when I'm most off guard you plan on." She cut herself off, half expecting Naruto to charge during the middle of her monologue. It surprised her more than any sneak attack when the boy didn't move. She stopped grinning and only looked at him dumbly and questioningly. "Surely you've got more to offer than this." Ino grunted, racing forward and hacking at Naruto with the razored fingers of the gauntlet. The caged Genin only raised his sword just enough to parry Ino's attack to one side. He didn't stop her from following through with her other hand and bashing him across the face with her knuckles. The caged Genin tumbled to the ground, landing on his back. Ino glared at him. "I'm toying with you and you're losing," she shouted, her voice betraying her anger. "I was actually hoping you might present some kind of a challenge. But here you are acting like you want me to KO you." Naruto's only answer was rolling to his side and pushing himself up onto his elbows and knees. Ino stalked forward, standing beside him and fueled herself with massive amounts of demonic chakra. The kick to Naruto's ribs snapped the bones and sent him hurtling through the air until he landed against a tree with a hollow thump and collapsed to the ground at the base of the massive trunk. He didn't bother to wipe the blood from the corner of his mouth. "What are you doing?" Ino shouted. "What's your plan? You didn't lead me out into the middle of the forest, fend me off for so long, and struggle for your survival during our little chase just to let me KO you now." Behind the facade of Naruto's tired eyes, his mind was a maelstrom. Come on, he fretted. "Think like a twisted, sadistic, cold-hearted bee already." He could see her frustration. Ino's teeth ground as she took hold of the gauntlet with her free fingers and tore the metal glove from her hand. She pitched it to the ground and stormed towards Naruto, taking hold of his collar with both hands and lifting him up against the tree. Naruto's feet dangled a few inches above the ground and his hands hung uselessly at his sides. He barely even bothered to look Ino in the eye as she ranted. "You must be insane, you little C." The demon barked. "And you're wasting my goddamn time." She grabbed Naruto around the tee with one hand and began to shake him like a toy. "Are you actually going to give me something to do here or should I just KO you now?" Naruto, again, didn't answer as the demon, even as she threw him overhand into the dirt several meters away, he just passively let her do as she pleased, though he began to wonder for the first time since he'd concocted this idea whether or not it could really work. He was putting all of his hopes on the slim chance that she would make the one move that would totally undo her. Is she really going to slip up so catastrophically? He wondered. It occurred to Naruto, not for the very first time, but for the first serious time, that he knew almost nothing of what the Hyuga demon knew. He didn't know if it knew about the extent of Kyuubi's autonomy. He didn't know if it knew how to execute the Yamanaka's spirit-based techniques. A knot formed in Naruto's stomach as he began to seriously consider that his plan might not work. He had known going in that, despite his attempts to alleviate Kyuubi's trepidation on the plan, the chance the Hyuga demon would play exactly as he wanted, exactly as he needed it to for his all-or-nothing victory was slim. All of the preliminary steps went as planned, he thought, watching as the demon walked Ino's body over and hovered above him like a vulture. "I drew her in, forced her to fight me one-on-one, and now she's furiously confused by my passivity, but that doesn't guarantee that she'll use the proper technique." Ino reached down and wrapped her fingers tightly around Naruto's tee, lifting him off his feet and squeezing so tightly he thought for sure his end was ready to break. "If you're not going to give me a challenge," she fumed. "I'm going to simply KO you and move on, though to be honest I want you to fight back." I've not had any kind of test since we last fought, and I wanted that kind of challenge to continue here. Naruto watched her eyes. His stomach churned as he realized the wild fury he saw there was truly ready to kill him. That's why I can't, whispered the blonde, closing his eyes. Ino glared at him. I can't beat you, he said quietly. 3 years ago when you had a body as weak as Hinata's, I nearly killed myself to take you down, and even then it cost me everything. How am I supposed to beat you now? She didn't answer. You've got a body that's almost as powerful as mine, and you're obviously a being that amplifies the power of its host hundreds of times over. All I'd be doing by fighting you for real is hurting myself before ISD. Then you shouldn't have faced me in the first place, you little freak. Burst the demon. You should have run the instant you saw me coming. Losing your little bee must have driven you over the edge. You really have lost it. Naruto grinned. I wanted to see her one last time, he said. Ever since Konoha's intelligence informed us that you were back, I knew it was over. Orochimaru would use a body stronger than before, and I wouldn't stand a chance. Then when we learned that it was Ino he'd used as a host, I knew for sure I couldn't win. I just wanted to see her one last time before ISD. Naruto smiled wider, forcing a look of some kind of peace over his countenance as the Hyuga demon grimaced. Maybe I am insane, said the cage Genin. But I don't care anymore. Insane or not, I'm happy right now. Ino's face went wild with rage. So you want to see her one last time? She asked, dropping Naruto to the ground and stomping on his chest to hold him down. Well, that's too bad. The kunoichi began performing a series of very slow, deliberate seals. Because I'm not going to let you go out happy at all. In fact, I'm going to make sure you're miserable for the rest of eternity. Her voice was low but full of seething anger as she pointed her hands at Naruto, forming a box with her fingers and glaring at him through it. Naruto's eyes went wide. Could she? He didn't continue the thought. Naruto, one of the least superstitious people alive, was suddenly horrified that he'd jinxed the already tiny chance. I'm going to your soul straight out of you, said the Hyuga demon, its evil energies pervading Ino's voice more and more with each word, making her sound like an animal. And your consciousness can spend the rest of forever rotting in the back of my mind. You'll be like my little plaything, a pet to persecute and tease whenever I like, and mark me, you will suffer more than you ever could in a physical body. Naruto dropped his head back on the ground. If I believed in Kami, thought the cage Genin, the fear vanishing from his mind. Kyuubi, get ready. He mentally bellowed, focusing all his faculties on preparing for the shift. That will be all for this video. Be sure to like, subscribe, share, and comment down below for more videos. Goodbye.